The long-standing animosity between Rashida Frost and Jasmine finally exploded in a dramatic showdown during the highly anticipated 13th season debut of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. This moment marked a pivotal turning point for Rashida, who had reached her breaking point and could no longer carry the burden alone. Celebrity Insider News. Their relationship had long been a centerpiece of the show's drama, but Jasmine's return reignited an already volatile situation, pushing Rashida to confront the chaos head-on. Throughout the series, Jasmine had been a constant source of conflict between Rashida and her husband, Kirk Frost. From past affairs to her bold attempts to meddle in their marriage, Jasmine had always been willing to cross boundaries, creating tension at every turn. Despite the turmoil she had already caused, Jasmine's presence became a key catalyst for reigniting old wounds. And in season 13, she made it clear she wasn't done meddling. Her attempts to reconcile with Kirk once again ignited even more strife, bringing Rashida to the brink of breaking. Jasmine had become more than just an annoyance. She had become a threat, unable to let go of her lingering feelings for Kirk. Despite Rashida's best efforts to stay above the drama, she couldn't ignore Jasmine's constant provocations any longer. Rashida had faced countless challenges throughout her life and marriage, always handling things with grace and keeping her focus on her family, her business ventures, and her children. Yet, Jasmine's repeated attempts to stir up trouble began to put everything Rashida had worked so hard to build in jeopardy. After months of enduring Jasmine's rudeness and destructive behavior, Rashida's patience finally snapped. She knew she couldn't keep turning a blind eye. Confronting the issue head-on became unavoidable. Rashida had always been a strong, independent woman, but this moment made it clear. She had reached her breaking point. She wouldn't stand by as Jasmine tried to dismantle everything she had built. It wasn't a decision Rashida took lightly. And then, the silence between them broke as Rashida walked up to Jasmine. Rashida didn't approach Jasmine lightly. The confrontation wasn't born from anger alone. It was a culmination of months of frustration and hurt. Jasmine's constant attempts to interfere in her life had pushed Rashida to a place she never thought she'd reach. With every insult and every move to stir trouble, Jasmine crossed a line that Rashida could no longer ignore. As Rashida took that first step towards Jasmine, the air between them grew charged with tension, and it was clear that things were about to come to a head. The tension was evident the moment Rashida and Jasmine faced off, and it quickly escalated into something far more intense than a simple disagreement. This wasn't just a clash of words. This had been years of simmering emotions finally coming to the surface. Rashida had tried to stay composed, to ignore Jasmine's constant interference, but this time it was different. Jasmine had always been a source of conflict in her life, undermining her marriage, sowing doubt, and pushing boundaries. Rashida had kept silent for far too long, but now she knew she couldn't let it slide any longer. The years of frustration had built up, and she was ready to confront Jasmine directly. It wasn't just about protecting her relationship with Kirk anymore. It was about standing up for herself and refusing to let Jasmine destroy everything she had worked so hard to build. As the argument heated up, both women were no longer able to hold back. Words flew in every direction, sharper than before, and emotions ran high. Rashida didn't hesitate to call out Jasmine for the constant sabotage and manipulation she had inflicted on her family. She refused to listen to any excuses or justifications. This was no longer a matter of misunderstandings. Jasmine tried to defend herself, but each attempt only fueled Rashida's anger. Her words were firm and cutting, leaving no room for compromise. This wasn't just about a personal rivalry. It had grown into something much deeper, something that couldn't be ignored. Rashida was determined to put an end to Jasmine's influence once and for all. The confrontation continued to spiral, with both women exchanging heated words and standing their ground. The air between them grew thick with tension, and their voices rose as each tried to assert dominance. People in the background tried to intervene, but neither woman was backing down. For Rashida, this wasn't just about settling old scores. This was about reclaiming control over the chaos Jasmine had created. Years of trying to stay above the drama had left her weary, but this time she wasn't going to let Jasmine walk away with the upper hand. The fight had become more than personal. It was about standing firm and refusing to let anyone, especially Jasmine, disrupt the peace she had fought so hard to maintain. Rashida became more resolute as the contentious dispute dragged on. Beyond simply protecting her marriage, she was determined to safeguard the life she had built, her family, her career, and the progress she had made for herself. Jasmine had pushed too far, and Rashida wasn't going to allow her to undo all the hard work she had poured into her life. This wasn't just about confronting Jasmine, it was about standing up for herself and reclaiming the strength she had lost over time. For the first time in a long while, Rashida was embracing her identity as someone who wouldn't let anyone walk over her. The conflict was no longer only about protecting Kirk. This was about reclaiming her power and asserting her worth. Throughout the argument, Rashida didn't hesitate to speak up for herself. Her words were sharp and her tone unwavering. Jasmine tried to justify her actions, but each excuse only fueled Rashida's anger. She wasn't going to be swayed by empty apologies or promises. This was her life, her story, and she had finally had enough. By the end of the confrontation, it was clear that Rashida had won. She had taken control of her narrative, making it clear to Jasmine that her attempts to tear apart Rashida's family were futile. It might not have ended the tension entirely, but this was undoubtedly a pivotal moment, one that showed Jasmine could no longer manipulate Rashida or interfere with her peace. This encounter marked a turning point. Rashida had proven that she wouldn't allow anyone to disturb the peace she had fought so hard to build. Not Jasmine, not anyone. In that moment, Rashida reclaimed her strength, her dignity, and her power. She demonstrated to the world that she was a resilient, unyielding woman who would not let anyone break her spirit. As the episode came to a close, viewers were left wondering what would happen next for Rashida, Kirk, and Jasmine. But one thing was clear. Rashida had reclaimed her peace, and she wasn't going to let anyone take it from her again. Rashida had made it clear. No one, no matter how cunning or cruel, would ever take anything from her again. She had taken charge of her priorities, and the message was loud and unmistakable. If you mess with Rashida Frost, you better be ready, because things will only get worse. Instead of admitting his mistakes, Kirk had resorted to playing the victim. His affair with Jasmine wasn't about a slip. It was his way of escaping the struggles in his marriage with Rashida. He had been telling anyone who would listen that he had been unhappy for a long time, trying to justify his actions and paint himself as the wronged party. A few days after the confrontation, Kirk made his intentions clear by leaving Rashida. According to insiders, he even reached out to his legal team to figure out how to move forward with the divorce. Yet Rashida's decision to stay wasn't about being mistreated. She had made it plain to Kirk in an interview with Essence that she wasn't going anywhere. Her focus was on providing for her family, and no one could shake her resolve. People who criticize her decisions from the outside don't know what it takes to stay committed for 20 years, let alone what it means to rebuild after betrayal. Rashida had learned to live her life on her terms, and no one, especially not Kirk, would dictate her choices. The journey hadn't been easy. There were dark moments, and Kirk even had to be hospitalized before he realized how much he truly wanted to fight to get Rashida back. Jasmine, however, wasn't willing to sit back quietly. She had been vocal about her displeasure with Kirk's decision to have Rashida by his side. Kirk's choice to bring Rashida along cut deeply into Jasmine's heart, but as the saying goes, you lose them the way you get them.